Back, man. Back from vacation. Back from Ocean City / Pennsylvania. I feel great right now. Can't wait to get this podcast started. The first podcast that we're doing since that time is the state of the Minnesota Vikings offensive line. Now, of course, this is based off of early projections based on offensive coordinator Gary Kubiak's comments regarding the O-line. And to do this, we are going to use a restaurant theme. I think food is art. I love food. I appreciate food. I like to consider myself a food aficionado. Last year in Minneapolis, when I went out to the game between the Vikings and Eagles at US Bank Stadium, the night before I ate at Chino's, which I'm not even going to lie, folks, arguably some of the best wings I've had in my life. I would say top 3, worst case scenario, which brings me to left tackle Riley Reiff, who is on the menu, the safe order of wings. Now, he's not Chino wings, but he's the solid order of buffalo wings Riley Reiff is. And of course, you'd like to have something different, but over the past 3 years, from 2017 to 19, what other options were there other than Riley Reiff? Now, right now, I believe Ezra Cleveland is a better left tackle, even as a rookie, but doesn't matter. Gary Kubiak, in his recent comments regarding the offensive line, basically indicated that Riley Reiff will be the Vikings starting left tackle in 2020. And of course, he's going to struggle against the Khalil Macks and the Smith Bros out in Green Bay, but against non-elite pass rushers, he's solid. I think Riley Reiff, he's always been okay to me. He is a mid-pack offensive tackle, which is the literal definition of okay. Next, we move to left guard Pat Elflein, who on the menu is the side of undercooked fries. You tell the waiter, hey, it's a little bit raw, still a little bit cold, and they're like, oh my God, let me fix this for you. They bring out the second set of fries, it's got a hair in it. They bring out the third set of fries, it's got a rat's foot in it. Every single time they bring out a new set of fries, it gets worse and worse to where you're finally like, listen, I will settle for bran flakes. And if they say, hey, listen, we don't have milk, you'll say, I will settle for bran flakes with water for all I care because the fries have ruined the meal. I'm trying to understand, and again, this is based off of Gary Kubiak's recent comments regarding the offensive line. And saying, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, paraphrasing here, we're bringing back 4 out of the 5 starters from the offensive line last year because Josh Klein they terminated his contract, so that's great. We're going to have competition at right guard. So it's basically indicating that Pat Elflein will still be the starting left guard. But if that is the case, I'm trying to understand, what is Gary Kubiak and Mike Zimmer and even Rick Spielman for keeping him on the roster? What are you hoping to see different from Pat Elflein this year compared to what you've seen the last 2 years? We know exactly who Pat Elflein is. This dude's got no base. On the snap of the ball, he gets launched off the line of scrimmage. Instead of battling his man, he's trying to keep himself from falling down, or he's committing false starts or holding penalties, which is a shame because his rookie year, I swear he was so nice. I thought he was so athletic, especially in the screen pass plays where this dude would run up the field and launch dudes, just create more and more lanes for the running backs. It's a shame, but now it's pathetic. So if Pat Elflein really is the starting left guard again in 2020, all right, I guess we'll just have to see if anything different will happen. But next we'll move to center Garrett Bradbury, who on the menu, he's a falafel. Kind of an acquired taste, especially the first quarter of the 2019 season. Didn't really look all that great, especially up against Kenny Clark, against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. But in his defense, he did have a very good second quarter of the 2019 season, especially up against the Detroit Lions. And for all it's worth, take it with a grain of salt, if you will, because in 2019, the Detroit Lions arguably had the worst defensive line in all of football, but I think he had a very solid second half of the season. Now, against stiffer competition, it was pretty bad. So I would say for Garrett Bradbury, he's in the category of Riley Reiff, which is okay, which you will take for a rookie player, especially on the offensive line, but he's a first-round draft pick. You want to see him get a little bit better. I like the upside of Garrett Bradbury a lot. There's certainly no time to panic. I think he's on the up and up. What I want to see more technique-wise is more consistency, especially with upper body control. Next, we move to right guard, in which Gary Kubiak talked about Ezra Cleveland working at right guard and possibly being in the competition for that spot. Now, Ezra Cleveland as a left tackle is mac and cheese. He's a hot bowl of mac and cheese. Ezra Cleveland at right guard, he's still mac and cheese, but he's dinner posing as breakfast. Can you imagine having mac and cheese for breakfast? This man is a left tackle. If you want to start Riley Reiff, fine, start Riley Reiff. But redshirt Ezra Cleveland to develop as a left tackle. Interior offensive line is more strength-based. Offensive tackle is more athletic-based. And I don't think Ezra Cleveland I don't think it's his game to play guard, to play interior offensive line. This man is a natural left tackle. And forget the fact if he gets blown the fuck up against the next level, against defensive tackles playing guard, and if it ruins this man's confidence moving forward for the rest of his career, that's a whole separate issue. But all that aside, you learn everything at right guard this year, and then in year 2, you say, hey, guess what? Forget everything you learned technique-wise. We're going to start back at square one, this time at left tackle. I just leave well enough alone, in my personal opinion. We'll just have to see. I just don't know about that. Now, Kubiak also did mention a couple of other names, 2 names in particular, Dakota Dozier and Aviante Collins, in which case I think both of those players are more of a Band-Aid instead of a long-term solution at right guard. But if I had to choose between the two, I would go with Dakota Dozier. Now, I hope this is the year that Drew Samia steps up. I hope this is the year that Drew Samia earns the right guard spot because he has all the intangibles. This dude is a bully. He's nasty. He's an enforcer. He's like the big bro, kind of like the Bash Bros on the Mighty Ducks. Now, if you're in school and you got all the bullies coming after you, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But when you got big bro next to you, it's like, I can take on the whole world now. Drew Samia has the nastiness and the tenaciousness to where I think it's infectious to the rest of the offensive line to where maybe they get an extra bounce in their step to where they play better than what they actually are. If Drew Samia can step up the technique aspect in his game, he is going to be a problem. Lastly, we are going to go to right tackle Brian ONeill, who on the menu is a medium rare tomahawk steak, perfectly seared. Gordon Ramsay cooked it himself. Brian ONeill is one of the best offensive tackles in the league. I don't care what anybody says. Brian ONeill should have been on the NFL's top 100 list. He damn well better be next year. We talk about how Danielle Hunter is massively underrated. Brian ONeill is in the same situation. And I understand that the consensus for Dalvin Cook is that he's the player or the best player on offense for the Vikings. I would argue it's Brian ONeill. That leg kick out that he does all throughout the game. Listen, man, I'm speaking as a guy who doesn't know shit about shit. I would imagine that if not number one, certainly top 3 things that a defensive end needs to learn is being able to launch off the snap of the ball. So when the center just moves, as soon as it goes, boop, with the football, go. You go after the quarterback, right? That's what, at least the timing. Because if you can get around, that's why we talk about offensive tackles, more athletic base, because you got to work in space. Your foot movement, your shoulder, upper body, leg, all that stuff. As soon as your man beats you out on your outside shoulder, it's curtains unless you're a Joe Thomas or a Brian ONeill, damn it. But I would imagine that defensive ends, how do you launch off the snap of the ball? Brian ONeill, the way he gets that leg kick out at the snap of the ball matches with the speed of defensive ends. Not to mention the balance, the strength. This dude puts up some of the best tape on this team on film. It is so beautiful to watch. He's one of the best players at his position, which brings up a bigger point. This whole notion that we can mask the deficiencies of offensive line with scheme is nonsense. It's total nonsense. You still need talent because I tell you what, man, in those moments where the lanes and the gaps that you designed to be open aren't there and your offensive line is forced to adjust and straight up block, what talent do you have? Is Brian ONeill a product of the system? Fuck no. You take Brian ONeill and move him on any other roster in this league, and he's still one of the best players at his position, regardless whether it's right or left tackle. He's one of the best players at offensive tackle. So I think we're in a situation where you have some things to be happy about. Brian ONeill, certainly Garrett Bradbury, Riley Reiff. I know there's a divide in the Vikings fan base. I'm okay with Riley Reiff for as long as he's here. just as long as Ezra Cleveland isn't playing at right guard, damn it. Redshirt him and let him develop at left tackle. But if Pat Elflein is going to start at left guard and you have musical chairs at right guard, then it's I can see how we're going to be in a situation as Vikings fans that we have been for the last couple of years, where every single game we watch, we throw up our hands in the air and say, the goddamn offensive line, I can't believe this shit again. So tweet out your thought. And you know what? We'll see what happens when the offensive line is here now that Gary Kubiak is calling plays. Maybe it will be lights out. I have no idea. Tweet out your thoughts with the hashtag Modest Take for a chance to win a $25 gift card to Modest Brewing. One of you will be selected at random, let's say on Thursday, to win a $25 gift card to Modest Brewing. Tweet out your thoughts. How do you feel about the offensive line, the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, heading into 2020? We do this at least once a week. Mediocre at Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. Check me out on Twitter at realistic_Randy, Facebook at Realistic Randy. It feels so good to be back, baby. We'll see you next time.